to welcome you all to this side event organized during COP28 in cooperation with the Konrad-Adenauer Foundation of Germany and the Congolese Diaspora for Nelson Mandela Legacy. The active involvement of young people in the climate debate is absolutely critical. Indeed, young people are not only victims of climate change, but they are also invaluable contribution to comprehensive and inclusive climate action. As entrepreneurs and innovators, they are important agents of change. Whether through education, science, or technology, young people are scaling up their efforts and using their skills to accelerate climate action. The contribution of young people to combating climate change is significant, as they bring unique perspective and provide us with innovative ideas. Their inclusion, particularly in policymaking, brings a much-needed long-term perspective that is often overlooked. They can also play a crucial role in promoting policies that specifically address the interests of future generations. In addition, young people are in a unique position to drive tangible change at the grassroots levels. Young people are therefore the most important stakeholders in global efforts to achieve targets such as we, the Gulf Research Center Foundation, together with our partners, organizations here, are proud to organize this side event to provide young people from around the world a chance to raise their voices, concerns, experiences, and innovative ideas in a combined effort to combat climate change and provide a path forward for sustainable development. I'm sure that once you listen to them, you will be amazed by the passion, ambition, and innovation of these young people. Once again, thank you all for coming. And I will now hand over to Mr. Rabab Alouni, journalist and environmental advocate, to moderate the session. Thank you.
Mr. Javid, for this presentation. I'm glad to have you here, all of you, with this session. What is special about this session is that we have young leaders, we have leaders from many countries. We have leaders from Oman, from Bahrain, from China, from Singapore, from United States, and they will all share their experiences. So first of all, we have some presentations by the speakers, and at the end, feel free, please, to ask any question if you have. The floor is open for everyone. Today, we will learn about food security, the impact of food security. We will learn about climate migration. We will learn about a project in Oman. And we will also learn about the importance of accountability and transparency. Please welcome to all speakers. I will present the speakers today one by one. We have Ms. Skylar Yuchen Cheng, who is a young climate change activist who will talk about social perspective and environmentalism. We have also Lucas Allen, who is the founder of RDRD Research Institute, who will talk about the relationship between climate change and Alzheimer's disease. We have also with us Kayu Ija, who will talk about the hidden environmental costs of convenience. He will share his experience from China. We have Fatima Al-Mansouri, who will bring some energy today, not only with her presentation, but also with an exercise that we will do in the middle of the presentations. Fatima Al-Mansouri, she is a founder and executive director of Sustainable Humanitarian Development. She will talk about climate change, global warming within us. This is her presentation. We have also Adam Wang, who is the co-founder of Clear Vision Impact, NFP, who is a young climate change activist. He is a young climate activist because he has only 15 years old. We have also from Oman, Juhaina Al-Ghafri, who will speak about the pathways to an informed community, climate change, and plastic awareness. She will share her experience in Oman. She is a communication officer in the Environment Society of Oman. We have also from China, Wenqing Tang, who is the leader of Asian chapter of Clear Vision Impact, NFP exactly. and she is high school student. She will talk about governance and solutions for global net zero transition. And we have also Mr. Omar Badkoun, who is the founder and CEO of Bio Treasure. He will talk about youth in climate action and youth-led sparking solutions. With Omar, we will learn more about an experience he had in his country in local level. So please welcome Mr. Omar, and feel free later to ask him many questions as you can, Omar. I will make it difficult for you. So please, this is an open space for discussion, so please feel free to ask your questions. So the floor is with you.
Hello. At the beginning, I'd express my deep thanks to Mr. Jafid from Gulf Research Center and our partners from KAS and Clear Vision Impacts. I am Omar Badkoun from Yemen. I am founder of Bio Treasure, which is a social startup working and developing innovative small-scale biogas plants in Yemen as a solution for two main problems that our rural communities are facing nowadays, which are the unclean cooking and the high prices of fertilizers in Yemen, and of course in the world. Let me start talking about our project and our initiative. Actually, back 5 years ago, there was a severe lack in cooking gas in Yemen, and the prices are not tripled, but sometimes it reaches 10 times more than real prices. So the people don't have any other resources for cooking, and most of them go to firewood. From that time, I think 2018, we started, me as a chemical engineer, graduated from Hadramaut University. I thought about solutions that can help in this problem. So from my background, I started developing small biogas plants. We know biogas plants are not new technology. It's familiar with more than 40 years ago, 50 years ago. But we made something innovative. We made it some design that can be transferred, installed, and easily anywhere, also in a low cost. So the biogas technology is not familiar in Yemen. So we have to do something that makes it easier for the target people and use our skills to make that happen. So I and my team developed small scale innovative. You can get a picture for this?
Okay.
No? Yes. You see this picture, actually, that system comes after 5 years of research and development. When we started, it was not like that. But after 5 years of research and development and developing more than 30 prototypes, we reached the latest one and make that will provide the locals with continuously 3 hours of clean cooking gas every day and provide more than 5 tons of organic fertilizer per year in a liquid form or in a solid form. So we in Bio Treasure are helping the locals to adapt with climate change and also helping them to mitigate the climate change, both sides. Because we are giving them system who help them to get rid of their organic waste in a correct way, also turn it in a value by producing gas for a free, also fertilizer for their food, so they can grow their food and they can have some crops. For example, we do with some farmers who have vegetables like tomatoes and cucumber, and we are very happy when we see our systems making impact in the field, especially in the rural areas.
I think this is a good idea to have this project. If you allow me a question now, how you get this idea to put in action this project in your community?
Actually, I talked about it at the beginning because 5 years ago there was a huge raise in the prices of LPG in Yemen. Meanwhile, the fertilizer prices are doubled. So the idea comes from that time. Then we started as a social initiative called Biogas for All, not a startup. So this initiative from Hadramaut University and some NGO. And when we started developing the systems, got and developing some business plan and come with idea that makes everything something sustainable. So we started the BioTreasure as a social initiative to ensure that we will provide a sustainable systems. Also, we will provide maintenance and training, and so making the initiative is sustainable for as long as we can.
Okay, and how this project is dealing with climate, if you can explain us from your own experience.
Okay. Climate change actually affects our life in different ways, and we in BioTreasure actually dealing with that in two ways. The BioTreasure systems are working in both sides of climate change action, adaptation or mitigation. Mitigation because we are producing biogas. All of us maybe know that biogas consists mainly of methane, and we know methane is 40 times harmful to the atmosphere than CO2. But how BioTreasure are producing methane and fighting climate change? So we are capturing the methane from organic waste by this system and burning it. So we turn the methane into a fuel. So instead of raising emissions from methane to atmosphere, we use it as a fuel to be burned and reduce the emissions of methane. So this is a kind of mitigation. Meanwhile, we know, as mentioned previously, the people in Yemen, especially in the rural areas, don't have access to clean cooking, so most of them are going to bring other solutions, alternative solutions like firewood. So we are helping people to get clean cooking gas instead of firewood, so we're helping them to adapt with this problem. So this is what adaptation. Also producing biogas fertilizer, helping farmers to get cheaper fertilizer for their crops. So many different ways we are contributing to the climate action in these areas.
This is very good, Omar, really. And now from Yemen, can you travel with me to Singapore, maybe? Let me welcome now the leader from China, but she studied in Singapore, Wing Ching Tong, who will today speak about accountability, transparency. If you want to learn more, please listen to this young leader. Hello, Wing Ching.
Hi and good evening, everyone. So, ladies and gentlemen, today it is my great honor to speak to you about the matter of immense global significance, cross-level governance and solution for a global non-dual transition. As we confront the urgent and complex challenge posed by the climate change, the need for the collaborative and interdisciplinary approach becomes increasingly clear. Our very survival, as well as the future well-being of the generation to come, hinges on our resolve and ability to shift toward a net zero carbon future. This monumental task requires an unprecedented level of cooperation, uniting government and entity, from international organizations to local communities, in order to address the intricate policy challenge that lie ahead. A key aspect of this transformation is adopting the global perspective. The global net zero transition necessitates international collaboration and coordination. It's called for a robust agreement, like the Paris Agreement, which set ambitious targets and create mechanisms for nations to collectively work to share the common goal. Cross-level governance in an international context is crucial. acknowledge that climate change does not respect to the national borders and require a united front. It is also ensured that the responsibility is shared equitably, recognizing the different capacities and contribution of nations. However, global agreement alone are not enough. Effective cross-level governance must also penetrate national levels. Each country needs to develop and implement policies and strategy in line with the global goal of net zero emissions. This policy should reflect the unique challenge and opportunity of each nation. Additionally, it is essential for national governments to foster cooperation with local and regional authorities. They are often at the forefront of implementing climate policy. They deeply understand their unique local circumstance, and they are capable of crafting tailored solutions. Local government can set an example and demonstrate the feasibility of transitioning to the low-carbon future. In this context, the role of intergovernmental organizations is also indispensable. They offer a platform for nations to share knowledge, best practice, and resources. They are contribute to the development of standards and guidelines that can be implemented at national and subnational levels. They are also help in coordinate the effort of various stakeholders, from government agency to civil society organization to the businesses. An excellent example of the effective cross-level governance is the European Union's commitment to achieve climate neutrality by 2050. This ambitious goal requires not only the collective effort of EU member states, but also coordination of regional and local levels. Each member state is tasked to creating its own energy and climate plans, detailing how they intend to contribute to the EU's wider goal. Furthermore, the EU's efforts are not in isolation. It is actively engaged in international collaboration and coordination and agreement that shape the global agenda, demonstrating the interconnectedness of action across different levels of governance. Yet, setting ambitious goals and depending solely on government to fulfill them is insufficient. The private sector also plays a vital role in this process. Motivated by consumer demand and market forces, companies are increasingly dedicating themselves to reduce their carbon footprint. The business sector has come to recognize that sustainable is not just the ethical choice, but also the profitable one. Indeed, some of the most groundbreaking solutions for the climate change mitigation are emerging from the private sector. Entrepreneurs and business are actively investing in renewable energy, technology, and enhance the sustainable supply chains. It is important for the government to engage and support these private sector initiatives, providing incentives and regulation for the foster sustainable practice. A notable example is the transformation occurring in the automotive industry with the increasing prevalence of electric vehicles. Government at all levels can play a vital role in this accelerating the shift. They can offer tax incentives, invest in necessary infrastructure, and provide research grants to encourage the adoption of electric vehicles. Such a collaborative effort between the public and private sector exemplifies the essence of cross-level governance needed to achieve a net zero transition. Furthermore, the role of the local communities in this collective endeavor is crucial. These communities where people live, work, and consume resources have a significant impact on emission reduction effort. Local government can spearhead this movement by implementing policies and programs focused on urban planning, transportation, and energy consumption. They can invest in efficient public transport system, promote the construction of energy-efficient building, and encourage the sustainable waste management practice. So there are some few strategies that can guide us on this journey.
Exactly. Thank you so much, Winting Tang. I would like to recall that you are still a student, you are a high school student, and you are a leader with the Asian chapter, and thank you so much for your inputs. This is really important, and I hope our leaders here at COP would listen to you. I have a question, if you allow me. You mentioned many strategies, and this I found it really important. But if you can choose three top priorities that we need to adopt as soon as possible, what would you choose?
So I think for us, the young generation, we should choose raising our awareness. We can know the urgency of the climate crisis and empower with knowledge, like how to reduce our carbon footprint and use less plastic. And for like the international organization, I think they should choose like do the inclusive decision making. So it's like they need to think about the interests of marginalized and vulnerable communities, so they can ensure that no one is left behind on their transition. And for the government, I think they need to do like transparency and accountability. So they can setting and reporting the climate target across all governance level, and a robust accountability mechanism must be established to ensure that the compliance to this commitment.
Exactly. You have many priorities, Winchang, don't you think? So one of your strategy that you mentioned is about the inclusive decision. You as a young leader, let's say, and a student, how do you see this inclusivity, let's say?
So I think across the global, like actually different countries in different stage, like their economic growth and their like the community situation is different. Some of it is like development country, and some of it is still like developing. So they need to like think about different strategies, so they can always like make
Involve
everyone
more, maybe?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you so much. We learned a lot today from Yemen to Singapore and China, because you are representing both. You are a student in Singapore and you are Chinese. Thank you so much, Wing Chang. And then now we will travel again, and it's time to go to Oman now with Johanna, how are you? She's so quiet here. Okay, let me introduce you, Johanna Al-Ghafri from Oman. Hello, Johanna. Glad to have you here today with this young session. Today you will speak about your own experience from Oman. You will share something that you did in your local community. So the floor is yours. Let me first.
Thank you for having me. So today I'm going to talk about the pathways to an informed community in Oman. As we all know, we're all here to discuss about climate change, and that our the planet needs immediate action, and not just action from the government and environmentalists, but it also needs collective action from the community as well, and as individuals. So what can we do as individuals? There are many ways that we can contribute to reduce our carbon emissions. So we can take actions in our daily lives, and we can also contribute through environmental volunteering. So my journey with ESO started as a volunteer, and that progressed to part-time, to working full-time with them under the capacity building program that they have, where they train younger Omanis in the field of the environment. Before I start talking about the initiatives that I work on, I want to give you a quick introduction about who we are. We are a non-profit organization that was founded in 2004, and our vision is to protect and conserve Oman's natural environment and influence environmental sustainable behavior. And our values support the SDGs. So the first initiative I will talk about is Namot School Competition, which targets students in the government schools. And the idea is to promote conservation and sustainable practices. So the idea is for them to implement a project and a series of events throughout the year. And we need to see actual evidence of the project they implemented. And it has to be choose one of the themes, whether water management, waste management, or energy management. And we did see some evidence that the school students started bringing their own reusable bottles. We've seen evidence of bill reduction, and also it brought the community together, because the project does not only involve the students, but it involves the staff as well. The parents are all involved, so they all contribute to the initiatives. Another initiative we have is Oman Climate Dialogues, which we started this year. Because of COP being within the region, we thought it's a chance to raise awareness within the community. And definitely when something is trending and an important topic, it catches people's attention. So that's why we launched this initiative, to build awareness about the issues of climate change and the future. So so the audience can understand what's happening in Oman and in the region, and just to provide the transparency. And it was open for the general public, and we hosted speakers within the region. And yeah, as I said, it was to educate the youth and hopefully to raise awareness about climate change. And another initiatives we have is the plastic awareness efforts, where I deliver plastic awareness presentations to the general public and even stakeholders and companies, as well as host cleanups, which is very popular, where people come together and they can see the impact and understand the plastic pollution, the issue that we are facing in a short amount of time. But we also have conservation efforts, for example, cleaning up turtle nesting beaches. And we always also join global and local campaigns. And yeah, as I mentioned, it supports education about plastic pollution. And another important, being part of the capacity building program, I got a chance to be part of the cetacean research and conservation program. In Oman, we are very lucky as we have the Arabian Sea humpback whale residing in Omani water and they're non-migratory. So why is this important? It's important because whales play an important role where they actually sequester carbon from the atmosphere, and when they die and sink into the ocean floor, they keep that carbon within them. So they are a very important climate fighters, and they themselves also, they are vulnerable to the climate change. And so the benefits of me working in an environmental NGO, I get to learn from experts and people who have experience. I developed many skills. It's true I'm a communication officer, but I do many other things. We are a very small team. It builds a passion, and you feel like you're doing something good for the community and for the environment.
This is really good for the environment. Thank you so much for sharing this, Juhaina. But I have a question. When you talked about catching the attention, the main focus was the youth or the whole public, adult, youth, children?
It's mainly the whole public, but most the people attended, like looking at the registration and all, it was the youth mainly attending.
Okay, and you found like attraction, you found involvement from the young people?
Yes, they're very passionate and they want to do more, and we noticed that they do want to see change. So definitely it was, especially the Oman Climate Dialogue, it was a very interesting topic for them.
This is very good. You talked also about capacity building. So you do like capacity building for the whole public, or for focusing on more maybe on schools? What are your area of focus exactly?
So when it comes to capacity building, we focus on the youth, the young graduates, where we try to teach them a different thing. So I'm part of the capacity building.
She's youth too, let's remember that. Yes, exactly. Yeah. Thank you so much, Juhaina. So now, after learning about your project, and especially when we talk about plastic now, let's remember that we have the plastic negotiations now still running. We had the plastic treaty negotiations last month in Nairobi, ENC4, and we are preparing for the next plastic negotiations in Canada in April. And I think this is very good what you are doing in your community. And I think what catched me in your presentation is the education and capacity building, because I think we need to start from young age. We need to raise awareness about this harmful impact and effect of plastic pollution, and we need to start from children and youth, and to produce more capacity building sessions and to introduce environmental education in our school. Thanks a lot, Juhaina, for your presentation. From schools now, we will go to another subject, which is important too. We talk a lot about migration today, but with less focus on climate migration. If you would like to learn more about climate migration, its cause, its impact, and what is really going on today because of the climate, let me introduce you this young leader, Adam Wang. Hello, Adam. How are you?
Good.
You are having fun with us today?
Yes.
Okay, happy to have you here with us, Adam. You will talk about climate migration from your own perspective. But before beginning, I would like to tell you that Adam has only 15 years old, and he's already leading a change in his community. Thanks a lot for coming with us today in this session, Adam, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, ma'am. Ladies and gentlemen, I stand before you today as a high school student, but more importantly, as a global citizen that's deeply concerned about climate refugee crisis. This is a crisis that's as much as important as human rights, and it's about environmental degradation. According to the United Nations High Commissioner of Refugees, climate change-related weather hazards have forcibly displaced an average about 21 million people annually since 2008. This number, staggering to its magnitude, represents not only the individuals but the entire communities uprooted and forced into uncertainty. This is a life-changing event we're talking about here. And it may sound like it's far away from the individuals that are present here today at this conference, but another family or another child might be losing their home over a climate crisis just over the other end of the world. Imagine for a moment a family in the Philippines rebuilding their lives after a typhoon, or farmers in the sub-Sahara deserts migrating due to desertion. These are not isolated incidents, but growing trend of displacement caused by climate-induced changes. Sorry. The World Bank projects that by 2050, there could be as much as 143 million climate migrants from those three regions: Sub-Saharan Africa, South Asia, and Latin America. That's about 2% of the entire world's population, and that's only 3 regions alone. Imagine every 1 person in every 50 having to suffer the pain from these devastating causes. But amidst this crisis, there's resilience. Communities are adapting in extraordinary ways. In Bangladesh, floating schools ensured education continues despite the floods that are constant among the communities. In Pacific Islands, communities are pioneering ways to sustain their culture and livelihoods against the rising sea levels. There are so many more examples of what communities are doing, changing to adapt to the current situation, but are these enough? Can we ensure that most people that need the help can receive it? The answer is clear. There are still many individuals and communities that are still greatly impacted by these life-changing situations. As a young advocate for social justice, I believe it's our responsibility to respond to this crisis with empathy and action. We must integrate climate migration into our global climate action plans, ensuring that those that are affected are not only statistics, but voices are heard and stories are told. There are people out there that need your help, our help. To ensure the best can be given to these people, we should put more efforts on to think about how we can support these people that are in need. This is called to an action for all of us at the COP28 and beyond. Our policies and decisions have the power to shape lives. Let's commit to not just witness, but actively participate in the symphony of resilience that these climate refugees orchestrate every day. We can not only change our lives, but also lives that are drastically changed just because of climate crisis. We can start by including these people in our plan of funding, and we make sure that individuals who need help can gain them in time. Everyone can participate in this by just putting a little time and effort. It may not seem like a lot to you, but it might change someone else's life completely. In closing, let's draw an inspiration from the words of Wangari Maathai. We cannot tire or give up. We owe it to the present and future generations of all species to rise up and walk. Let this be our mantra and forge a path of resilience, justice, and hope for climate refugees across our planet. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Adam. That was really virtual presentation. And I think, as you said, it's really important today to put climate migration in the agenda too, because we are seeing a lot of people coming from, for example, rural areas to the city because they struggled with the climate change, from drought, from fire forests, and many people even lost their jobs because of climate change, especially in rural areas. So I would like to learn from your own experience. I mean, what is the main cause of climate migration, for example, in your community?
So, like, for example, like I mentioned, like in near shore areas, communities are being affected just because of the glacier melting in the poles and the sea levels rising, causing them to leave their homes there and changing their lives based on their position and geographic location. And also other like pollution are also changing lives in other inland areas, not only just around the oceans. So there are still many changes that we can do to make sure that these people can gain their best lives out of their time.
Okay, and you think that climate migration now today is not well recognized as the traditional migration? Do you think that?
Yeah, so there are like a lot of texts and books referencing to traditional immigration. Like there are like policies that are supporting or against it, but there are nearly no mentions about climate refugees and immigration. So I think there are supposed to be more policies that focus on these people in need that are maybe more devastated than the people that are wanting to leave because of other causes.
And I think that's why the presentation done by Juhaina and how she shared her experience from her community is really important, because one of the causes of climate migration today is also pollution, and especially plastic pollution. And for example, for people who are working in fisheries, who are working in agriculture, really they are struggling with this harmful impact of plastic pollution, especially. And I think this is really important. So I encourage you to keep the fight, Adam. Really, I hope to see one day the climate migration in the agenda, because really this is the reality today, and we need to talk about it, and to push for a change. We need you as a young leader, so keep the fight, and thank you so much for your presentation. And now, after climate migration, we will have some energy with Ms. Fatima Al-Mansouri. She's the founder and executive director of Sustainable Humanitarian Development, EST. She will do an exercise with the participants, but first, let me hear from her about climate change and global warming within us. The floor is yours, Fatma. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. Thank you everyone for being here with us. As she said, my name is Fatma Mansouri. I'm from Bahrain. I'm an adjunct professor of human consciousness and yogic science, and I'm also an SDGs ambassador for youth in Bahrain. So my presentation today is global warming within us. I'm going to take you very quickly into how this can reflect, it actually mirrors what's inside us on the whole planet. So as you will see in the first slide, I'm using ancient wisdom. If you can, can I have the pointer?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so the ancient wisdom, it says your remedy is within you, but you do not sense it. Your sickness is from you, but you do not perceive it. You presume that you are a small entity, but within you is enfolded the entire universe. You are indeed the evident book by whose alphabet the hidden becomes manifest. Therefore, you have no need to look beyond yourself. What you seek is within you, if only you reflect. So today we're going to reflect a lot, because it starts all within us. And this was said by Imam Ali like hundreds and hundreds of years ago in the 12th century. And it is highly relevant now, and it gives us a perspective into the subject of global warming, because if we can sense it and perceive it, and look beyond and reflect, we will know that it's all mirroring of what's happening inside of us, because the entire universe is actually within us. It starts within. And we are using so many resources in such a short period of time, which is impacting the planet negatively, beginning with overconsumption of meat eating. So a key solution to start is from within. We raise consciousness and practice mindfulness, and so that we can reflect positively by minimizing and reducing our footprint as individuals, living peacefully, living a healthy, sustainable lifestyle. Together we can create a better environment for us and for the future generation. So everyone is subject to burnout. When I talk about the global warming within us, I'm linking it with the burnout. Even now, younger generation, they are suffering from burnout. And many have experienced some type of burnout in their lifetime. Some notice it in the beginning. They notice the first symptoms. And then they do some changes. But some don't even notice it until it further complication, and it becomes a chronic disease. So now this is what's happening to the planet as well. It's chronic, it's been going for a long time. And there are acute things that are happening also right now, which I wish collectively we can stop it, but if they can stop funding bombing, or if they can stop funding weapons, I hope so. This will really stop something acute. And then we can look at the chronic condition of the planet, you know. This is a very important thing. So now we are noticing first sign and symptoms of the climate change, but it has been already chronic, you know, so we should act soon to avoid disaster. Many people actually prefer to suffer than to change. If I'm talking about starting within us, we should, if we want to be happy, if we want to live in a happy environment, we should have the intention to change, because the climate is changing, so we need to change, we need to adapt, we need to find better solutions. Like it was, everybody was confused when it was said that if we stop using fossil fuel, we go back to living in tents. But this is the reality. It's truth, harsh truth, you know. But there are alternatives that we can use. So we need to adapt. We need to do that. But without the intention deep within us to change, it will be very, very extremely difficult for us to adapt. So I would like you to please have a moment with me. If you can close your eyes, breathe deeply, take a deep breath in. If you can keep your palms facing up and sit straight. Extend your neck upwards, feel your chest open, relax all your facial muscles. Release the tension from your shoulders, release the tension from your forehead. Have a gentle smile, internal smile, feel it within you. And have the intention to change your lifestyle to more sustainable, conscious lifestyle. With each breath as you breathe in new energy. And as you breathe out all the pain and tension. Breathe in and breathe out. Try to slow down your breathing as much as possible. Breathe in. Breathe out. You may open your eyes to continue with the next slide, and please keep the intention of peace and calmness with you. I can already see it in your faces, so keep it with you and try to carry on your life with this intention, and try to also extend it to other people around you. Sustainability, we talk about sustainability a lot, but what is sustainability? It's the ability to last for a long time, the ability to not be harmful to the environment. So how can we not be harmful to everything around us? Every small act can lead to significant result in mitigating the climate change. Unsustainable habits in our lifestyle have done so much damage to the planet, so let's do our best to change and to heal. This can take a whole 2 hours lecture, but I'm going to go very quick because we're very limited in time. I only have a few seconds left. So the most important thing on this slide, because the human body is consisting of all of these levels, not just the physical level. So as an adjunct professor of human consciousness and yogic sciences, the most important thing we teach here is that the link between the mind and the body, if you see, the most important thing between the mind and the body is the energy layer, which is your breath. This is why we started the intention with our breath. So please, always be aware of your breath and slow down your breathing as much as possible. And with each of these layers, the physical layer, the energy layer, the mental layer, the intellectual, and the bliss layer, each of us, if we focus on it, and if we live a sustainable, if we make sustainable habits physically by eating less meat, eating more vegetables, and if we are breathing slowly, reducing our stress, reducing our burnout within us, then that we can reduce it in the external environment and the whole planet. And mentally and intellectually, if we keep sharing our thoughts and joining these such programs, we will be expanding our awareness and consciousness so that we can live happily. So one of the projects that we do, one of our initiatives is mindfulness at schools. So they're planting a seed for the youth for climate action. We did this in partnership with the Arabian Gulf University in Bahrain and the Ministry of Health and the Ministry of Education, specifically the School Health Department. With the support of them, we were able to launch this actually very comprehensive, we can say, activity book for school, where they can do all the exercises and plan their food sustainably, and a lot of practices that they can do at school that can help them. We believe that the youth has the power to steer the climate action and implement change in so many levels. And you can see them already around me on my right and on my left, how they are doing amazing. And you know, at schools, if we start and equip them with the needed skills and knowledge, they can navigate holistically and create change. So sadly, we hit a roadblock during COVID-19 and we had to stop. But the good news is that I am here today, and maybe we can relaunch this not just in Bahrain and many schools around the globe. So who we are, I'm the founder and executive director of the establishment Sustainable Humanitarian Development. We do integrative well-being, sustainable lifestyle, community outreach, and humanitarian initiatives with a global team of speakers. And we have humanitarian initiatives. Most importantly, we were reaching the less privileged people and refugees, similarly to the photo that you see there with the refugees, Rohingya refugees camps. And also we are reaching to the Down syndrome and autistic groups, and we are offering integrative health to the blind, elderly, and disabled. All these groups has to be included, and addiction recovery also, because it is important to reduce these habits. So we talk about methane, we talk about everything, but we don't talk about shisha and smoking and all of that. So what happened to that smoke that comes from all of the smoking and shisha, and people so addicted to it, and also even the way they smoke the rooms with bukhur, we call it, the perfume that they use, especially in our local countries, which is very toxic and harmful, this bukhur. Have you heard of it? Anyone? That's good that you don't have it in your countries. They put a charcoal and they put on top of it some kind of scent so that you can smoke the whole place with the scent. So even the smallest thing I'm trying to tell you, like when you smoke or when you do this shisha to relax, that's not relaxation. Relaxation, what we just did with breathing deeply and mindfully. So, so these are the programs that we reach out to, also the orphanage and the refugees camps for the children. And thank you so much. These events can help us more to reach for corporate events so that we can sustain ourselves and so that we can share more and create a sustainable future. Mm-hmm. So by the end of this slide, I would like to just invite you quickly to do one practical exercise with me that is going to...
Yes, thank you so much, Fatima. Before the exercise, I would like to thank you for your presentation, because it's really important to talk about mental health and how climate change can impact our health and mental health. And I would like to relate what you are saying with the presentation of Adam when he talked about climate migration, because many people, for example, who are relocating, who are obliged to quit their houses, their hometown, to relocate to some other cities, and this is really impacted their mental health. We learned today that many people are suffering from burnout, from stress because of that, because of this change, because climate change impacted not only their life, their economic situation, but also their mental health. So we heard a lot of stories about people suffering today from burnout because of this, because of the climate migration and because the impact firstly of climate change. So thanks a lot. I will let you now do your exercise, and hope you will all enjoy, and I'm sure you will enjoy it.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Being displaced is one of the most stressful things, and we are watching it live right now, happening a few hours away if you take a flight there, and we're watching it live happening during so many reasons, you know. And I've seen it firsthand also with the Rohingya refugees. So it happens also the same thing to people who are suffering in the climate areas, the climate change areas. They are losing their houses due to also floods. I have seen it in the Kerala flood. If you've seen in the, some of the slides that I've showed, the whole houses collapsed and they had to move, and there was nothing to go back to due to the floods and due to the earthquakes as well. So this is extremely stressful. So let's do one exercise at least, or how long do I have?
You have time for one exercise.
One exercise. Okay, that would be very simple and very effective, most importantly, because I see our posture is really important. If I will pass one exercise or one something important today is the posture, because when we are sitting, the body, again, the reflection of mental health directly with the posture. So when we are sitting this way, collapsing our body, this is the natural posture for when we are sad, you see, when we are doing this. But when we are happy, what do we do? What do we do when we are happy, naturally? Can you all do with me?
We laugh.
No,
we
do
jump.
this. Yes.
Yes.
So what I'd like you to do is just take a deep breath in and raise your hands up. Try it. Believe me, you will not regret. And raise your head up. And then take a deep breath out. Slowly. One more round, shall we? Breathe in. Stretch up. 1, 2, 3, 4. Stretch up, 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 up. 5. Exhale, release. Allow yourself a few moments to feel the changes in your body. You can close your eyes if you want to. Feel the changes, feel the vibrations, immediately shifted. It's a less than 1 second exercise. But if you let yourself notice the changes, you will notice the changes in your body, in your chest, neck, face, arms, blood rushing up and down. So please, always try to expand yourself upwards rather than coming down and collapsing, because this will reflect directly on your mental health. When we are feeling sad, we go down like this. When we are feeling happy, always go up like this. So when you do the movement, you reverse also your mental state. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Fatima. I think a small like step or posture can change everything. And I liked in your presentation when you said about the importance of the food, what we eat, how much we exercise. I think this is really important, and your exercises are really important because we forget about breathing. Is that correct? Many people don't even know how to breathe. So this is very good to mention that we need to focus on our breathing, and from our breathing, our life will change. Thank you so much again, Fatima Al-Mansouri from Bahrain. Now I will give the floor to Alan. Hello, Alan.
Hi.
You are so quite like Adam today.
Yeah.
So glad to have you here with us today. Alan, you will also share your experience and from your own perspective. Thanks for being with us. You have a presentation to share with us, right?
Yeah, I have a speech.
Okay, just one second.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me here. It is my pleasure and privilege to join you today at COP28. My name is Lucas Allen, and I'm a high school student at Upper Canada College in Toronto, Canada. I'm also the founder of ADRD, a nonprofit focused on Alzheimer's research. This topic is personal for me, as my grandfather, at 84 years of age, is in the advanced stages of dementia. In my opinion, understanding this disease is a better opportunity for my generation, as it is for us all. But it's not just about me personally. Global health is also a major focus area of COP28. As Dr. Sultan Al-Jaber said, The climate challenge is increasingly becoming a health challenge. You can no longer divide them. And expanding further, he said climate decisions are also health decisions. Against this backdrop, I would now like to introduce the subject I wish to discuss with you today, the relationship between climate change and Alzheimer's disease. In preparation for the speech, I consulted Professor Chen Si at the School of Public Health at Yale University. Professor Si has analyzed the impacts of air pollution on health outcomes in countries worldwide. He underscored the gravity of this additional challenge associated with climate change. The fact is that it's not intuitive. While it can be difficult to fathom, there are two modalities in which climate and dementia are intertwined. Firstly, it turns out that air pollution is the leading cause of cognitive impairment, the same kind of pollution that contributes to climate change. Secondly, a growing body of evidence shows that neurodegeneration is exacerbated by heat stress from climate change. Let's explore these relationships further, starting with air pollution. One of the main pathways for air pollution to impair cognitive ability is through fine particulates, also known as PM 2.5. These particles are emitted through the burning of fossil fuels, and they remain airborne for long periods of time, penetrating into buildings and indoor air, as well as the environment. Professor Si's research shows that those of us living in polluted areas have higher PM 2.5 concentrations in our brains, based on post-mortem analysis. As it turns out, those people also have smaller brains on average. In a separate study, cognitive scientist Jeff Morgan-Stibble from the Natural History Museum in California corroborated this finding. Looking at human skulls over 50,000 years, brain sizes were significantly smaller during periods of warmer climates when compared to cooler ones. This reality is quite shocking to me, given that my generation is growing up during a warmer era. Will we lack the gray matter needed to flourish in the decades ahead? We therefore see the distinctive link between climate change and dementia. As we burn fossil fuels, we emit particulates that in turn impair our cognition over the long term. Given these findings are still fairly recent, the pathology is not fully understood. The particulates catalyze the formation of tangles and amyloid plaques in the brain, but further research is still needed. Now, let's look at the second contributing factor, which is heat stress. It turns out that once an individual suffers from dementia, heat stress makes it worse. Some fascinating research was conducted by Dr. Dante Caligui and his team in the Ministry of Health in Spain. He found that emergency hospital admissions jumped 23% for dementia sufferers when the ambient temperature rises above the heat wave threshold of 34 degrees Celsius. In other words, dementia patients are less able to cope with heat stress than the population at large. In fact, one might expect that chronic heat stress would accelerate the progression of dementia. When we consider that up to 2% of the global population could have dementia, this outlook is rather stark. For the challenges ahead, we'll need all the cognitive power we can get. And so, these global health challenges will only become more pressing in the years to come. Yes, we can attempt to make lifestyle improvements individually to reduce the risk of dementia. Diet, exercise, and socialization can all help with cognitive functioning. What we cannot easily mitigate, however, is the growing climate impacts on this disease. And it's quite plausible that negative climate impacts will start to outweigh whatever improvements we individually can make. Therefore, I will propose 3 steps to address this issue. Firstly, let's recognize how severely air pollution actually affects our own neurological health. Secondly, let's recognize that addressing climate change is to improve our own health outcomes. And lastly, let's push for more research and awareness so we can take action locally and nationally. It is my hope that COP28 becomes a turning point on this issue. I sincerely hope you'll join me in championing this cause. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Lucas Allen, founder of ADRD Research Institute, for this presentation, and also for your work as a researcher. I really am impressed because you are still young, you are doing all these researches. Really, bravo, as we say in French, good work. I would like to learn more about this institution, ADRD. How do you work? How many people are in the group, and especially the methodology of your research?
Right, so the methodology is to understand Alzheimer's disease better. And so it's a little bit of an unknown disease, there's no cure for it, and diagnosing it is very challenging as it's a cognitive disease. So how do you know whether a person has Alzheimer's disease or not? And so everyone around the world, like there are tons of people who know people who have Alzheimer's disease. And lots of people have friends or family who have Alzheimer's disease. And so our research is based on understanding the relationships between climate change and Alzheimer's. And I was working with Professor Kenza at Yale, and he's published a study showing that actually 1 microgram per meters cubed increase in PM 2.5 can have a rate of 1% to 3% increase in dementia. That's based on over like a couple 100,000 cases. And we're also just researching as well diagnosis of Alzheimer's disease. How do you diagnose Alzheimer's disease? Because it's just a cognitive ability, how do you know whether someone's just becoming forgetful or whether they actually have the disease?
Okay, you talked also about innovation. Do you think there is like enough political will to invest more or innovation from your own perspective? Do you feel that there is a political will, or we should push for that more?
I feel like there definitely needs to be actually more of a political push. And this is because Alzheimer's patients, they can't really express themselves. My grandfather, he's losing his cognitive ability. He can't really explain himself. He can't even speak. And so we need other people, such as youth, to speak up for these dementia patients. And there's so many people with dementia, like 55 million people worldwide. And there's just not enough attention on that. We need more people to work on this issue.
And we need to invest more in innovation, right?
Yeah, for sure. We need to invest more in innovation, especially in like new ways to figure out whether people have been diagnosed, and also like research on the relationship between climate change and Alzheimer's disease, because there's very limited research on that.
And please, Lucas, this is my special demand. Can you share with us your research? Because really, this is really interesting what you are doing. And I think Adam agreed with me. We need to learn more about your research and what we are doing, because really this is important, not only with us, but with all the participants. So please share with us your work and your research. We are really interested. And from a young climate activist to another young climate activist, let me now introduce you Skylar Yu Chin Ching. Hello, Skylar.
Hello.
How are you?
Great, thanks.
Okay, so you are also a young climate activist, and I'm really happy to share this floor with this young generation. You are the future of tomorrow, and you are the change. So you, Skylar, what do you want to change today?
Well, a lot of things, actually.
Okay, yeah.
All right, so thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Skylar Chin. I'm from Beijing, China, and I'm currently a sophomore at Beijing National Day School. In these past days, there have been a lot of emphasis on understanding youth perspectives. However, I've come to realize that global environmental, like the movement, is often an enclosed community, and it fails to resonate and mobilize the broader public. And therefore, we cannot achieve change without understanding and addressing these societal perceptions of environmental issues. So today, that is the topic of my speech, and I want to share my observations and suggestions for individuals, societies, and global levels. So we all have heard of the idea that if every individual could change their own actions, collective action could change the world, and that it is the youth's job to push companies and governments to act. And I wholeheartedly believe in this. But it's not the reality. Because in reality, there are people who don't even think that climate change exists. Like, there are dire warnings, scientific consensus, and the death toll from unprecedented climate events have failed to move the public very much. And this is because there's a lack of widespread climate education systems to inform the effects of climate change in many countries. Climate change is also not very intuitive for people to understand. The effects of it are thousands of miles away from you, and it's easy to believe that it wasn't made from the fossil fuels at all. It was just an act of weather or an act of God. For example, let's say products are produced in China, they're consumed in Europe, they're disposed of in Cambodia, and they cause droughts in Africa, floods in Europe. Who is responsible? No one knows. So in reality, there is this group of people that we as climate activists, we are not like regarding them. Additionally, in reality, there are people who scoff at climate activists, people who will make you feel ashamed when you say that you're passionate about the environment. For example, a telling piece of evidence on public indifference comes from a 30-year poll conducted by Gallup. He asked the general public, what do you think is the most important problem facing the country today? And in the 2019 poll, the government, poor leadership was mentioned by 22% of the public. Immigrant was mentioned by 15%, and environment, pollution, or climate change was only mentioned by 3%. And that, to be honest, is not the fault of these non-believers. From the outside, it indeed seems that with 30 years of climate action, we have done nothing. We're never closer to reaching the 1.5 goal, and we have 2 weeks every year for the world to come together and discuss climate change. After that, it just goes silent. In this 28th year of COP, still yet nothing very significant has been achieved. At negotiation tables, there are hours of monotone talks repeating each other about pledges and agreements, but no decisions are really made. And even so, that's really frustrating for youth like me, and as well as seeing people who don't even care about climate change. So why is this caused? I asked myself, and I realized that it might be because of the making of environmental issues into political tools. Climate issues are so often mentioned in the news with the context of elections or political agenda and disagreements between countries that the public does indeed see it as a tool governments hold dearly, merely used to fulfill their political needs. This makes the public's risk perception of the climate events decrease. It makes them take sides within these echo chambers of political beliefs, and their willingness to cooperate in climate matters at most times, their inconvenience or at a high cost decreases their willingness. Thus, it makes sense why there is so little care from the wider public on climate issues. But it is not our jobs to ignore those and just keep doing what are theirs. Additionally, in reality, there's another group of people who care about the environment. They want to make a change. But because of society, they feel like their individual actions are helpless and useless. So, let me tell a story. When I was in middle school in Thailand, my school had an environmental club called Green Panthers, and during lunchtime, we would carry these pledges out to never use a straw again or never use a plastic bottle again. But none of us were able to fulfill that promise because think of it, who would voluntarily never use a plastic bag again, knowing full well that hundreds of thousands of other free riders would not? Knowing full well that in the same instant, industries use hundreds of tons of plastic for packaging and transportation, and it's just discarded. So people understand that they should act in a certain way for the greater good, but for individuals, they will loathe to turn off their AC or to stop flying or to stop using plastic, knowing that others will not join them. So, and additionally, if we face the problem, reducing people's carbon footprints or living waste-free, buying metal straws is expensive and inaccessible. Many people around the world can't afford to go buy organic food from green cafes or use non-fossil fuel cars because fuel is cheaper in their countries. So, basically, what I'm saying is, for the wider public, it's hard to uphold this belief in collective action when societal norms and governmental actions make us feel as if our actions are minuscule and hopeless.
Yes, exactly, Skylar. But I would like to ask you, do you agree with me that we need, at this step, to change the mentalities of people? Because many don't believe on that. And there is a lot of misinformation and disinformation regarding the climate, right?
Yes. So I agree with that. For society, this is a huge problem. It's hard to get wide-scale change happening in the wider society because people lack, like you said, information, education, trust, and hope. However, it is as you said, how do we change this? As countries and organizers, it is our job to restore trust in collective action. And that is why I'm here today pointing out this problem that I see. It's crucial that we give hope again to the ground level in face of this endless problem, because it will give them the driving force to continue their individual actions, and force urgent actions on their governments. If you allow me, I have 4 things I think that governments can do. Quickly, yes. So first of all, regarding people who don't believe in climate change, I think to change the next generation's public opinion, the most important thing is education. Like, for example, there was this lady at the COP23, and she told me that you cannot change everyone. You do not need to tell people how to act. But if you change yourself, such as being more happy or more mindful, other people will see your change and ask how you changed. And I believe that if that is advertised for everyone, it would make everyone care about climate change. For example, governments should create environments such as COP in society and let people see that we have the technology, we have the systems, we have the projects, and that there are people fighting to achieve this, so the individuals won't give up. For example, there are lots of posters all around, like 10 ways to stop climate change. There's speeches on TV, ads. Coming here in Dubai, there are trucks on the streets about this truck is made 100% of McDonald's biofuel. And from that, you see the commitments of larger corporations from countries, and so that way you know that there are people around who support these morals, and you no longer feel hopeless, restoring trust in collective
Exactly, Skylar.
action.
So the change starts from us, from ourselves, and as you said, and as Fatima also mentioned about the importance of psychology and exercises.
Actually, I want to comment something. And what you said is really important, especially about people losing hope when they try. She mentioned an example of using plastic. I would like to add an example of eating less meat. Who is going to give up eating less meat when everybody is selling and throwing away the waste meat, I can give up eating a nice steak, but what if it is already all the restaurants are serving it? So this needs to be changed on a decision maker level. This needs to be changed on the, so I mean, people can try, but we need to regulate. Unless there is a regulation, the decision maker has to do it. Actually, I was doing everything very wrong, backwards, because I was going to the less privileged people, to the refugees, to the orphanage and everything. But what we need to target actually is the 1% that is ruining the world, the elite 1%.
Exactly, Fatima. And you mentioned the meat, we will stay in the food, but now with the food waste, that you will learn more about food waste with the next intervention with Keo Jia, who is a young climate activist from China. He's 16 years old, and he will today talk about the food waste and how the developing countries are suffering with that. Welcome.
Okay, thank you. Honored climate experts, distinguished delegates, and esteemed attendees of COP28. I'm Kevin Jia, Kaiyu Jia. And as a high school student standing before you today, I represent not only the voices of my generation, but also the collective concern and hope of the youth for our planet's future. And today I'm going to talk about 2 main points. The first is the colossal impact of food waste, and the second is the burgeoning environmental consequence of takeout culture. Okay, now the first part, the global challenge of the food waste. And the issue of food waste is a glaring paradox in our modern world. Approximately 1/3 of all food produced globally, amounting to 1.3 billion tons annually, is lost or wasted, which is really concerned. And this staggering statistics is not just a matter of economic loss, but a profound environmental concern. Food waste accounts for about 8% of global greenhouse gas emissions. If food waste were a country, it would be the 3rd largest emitter of greenhouse gases, just behind USA and China. And environmental implications of food waste are multifaceted. It's not merely just the direct waste of food, but the squandering of resources like water, land, energy, and also labor. So using this production, they are being wasted. And for instance, the water wasted in food loss is equivalent to 3 times the size of Lake Geneva. And this waste exaggerates the strain on our already fragile ecosystems, contributing to deforestation, loss of biodiversity, and the increased greenhouse gas emissions. And the statistics are alarming across the board. In the United States, around 40% of food goes uneaten, amounting to $165 billion in waste annually. And also in Europe, the figure stands at 88 million tons. Next, please. Okay, and the second part is the rising environmental toll of takeout culture. And there are 3 main factors that which cause the takeout culture to rise. The first one is the technological advancement. Because the convenience of food delivery accelerated by technological advancements, and also the lifestyle being changed, like especially when it comes to COVID-19. Particularly in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic, has led to a surge in single-use packaging and plastic waste. And the global takeout industry generates millions of tons of packaging waste each year, much of which is non-biodegradable and ends up in landfills and oceans, contributing in pollution and harming marine life. Next, please. And in China alone, the takeout sector produced over 1.6 million of packaging waste in 2017. And this figure has been rising steadily till now. The waste not only poses a direct environmental threat, but also represent a significant carbon footprint in its production and disposal. The manufacturing of plastic, paper, and styrofoam packaging consumes fossil fuels, water, and other resources, while the end-of-life processing of these materials, often through incineration and landfilling. Like incineration will release a lot of greenhouse gases and toxic pollutants, which harm the environment. And according to these reasons, I think I should call on everyone to do something. Like the role of youth is indispensable. We, as young people, are not just passive observers, but active participants in shaping a sustainable future. Our actions, voices, and choices are driven significant change. So we must advocate for policies that address food waste and sustainable packaging. Grassroots movement can play a critical role in influencing public option and government choices. And leveraging technological is key. So innovations such as compostable packaging materials, food sharing apps, and AI-driven food waste reduction techniques in supply chain are essential. Youth lead teach TED-ups and environmental initiatives and spearhead these innovations. And also, knowledge is power. So conducting educational campaigns in schools and communities to raise awareness about sustainable consumption is also important. So the environmental impact of takeout culture is crucial. And also the global problems require global solutions. So we must foster collaboration between countries, industries, and generations to develop comprehensive strategies to reduce food waste and rethink our takeout culture. And finally, as we convene in COP28, the urgency to act is clear. We are at a pivotal moment in our fight against climate change. The actions we take today will shape the world of tomorrow. And as a representative of the youth, I urge all stakeholders, governments, businesses, communities, and individuals to join hands in this endeavor. Let us embrace a future where sustainability is not just a concept, but a way of life. Together, we can turn the tide against climate change, ensuring a healthy, prosperous planet for our generations to come. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kenza. Thank you. I like so much your message at the end. This is really important, and as the other speakers mentioned, the change always, and as Scholar said, the change starts from ourselves and from the young generation. Let me remind you that He is only 16 years old, and he is already embarrassing the world. I have a question for you before giving the floor to the audience here today. Do you have a specific message to politicians today who are not here today in COP?
Like some methods, like we can find some, like as the best I thought, the sharing food apps and some compostable packaging, like will not cause harm to the environment. And also, like there are some multiple factors. It's also important for the developing countries. The developed countries are suffer from this this cost, but the developing countries are also suffer from this because they don't have the inadequate facilities, and also like the transportation of them is not really good. So maybe the food are being in the process of food transportation, they will like will cause damage to food, and they are being wasted. And also even some countries don't have the refrigerator, and they can't have the proper way to storage all the food, and this will cause a lot of waste too. So I think the economic development is also really important, and gives them the right way to.
So your message to the politicians who are not here today at COP and who don't really believe in climate change is to maybe to be more involved and to understand more the impact, for example, of food waste on the society and also on the economy. Thanks a lot, Kenza, for this presentation. Now I will let the floor. We have, let's say the timing, we have only 7 minutes for questions. The floor is yours. Yes, Mr. Javid.
Thank you, everyone, for such a lovely evening and your presentations. My question is addressed to all of you. What do you think is the priority from a climate perspective that the government should focus on, being young leaders, students, and leaders of the future? So, what do you think is the your recommendation if you were the decision maker? What would be your priorities?
We start with Lucas.
Well, I believe the priority would be, firstly, we have to invest more financially. It's not going to be easy. Nobody wants to invest tons of money, but it has to be done, especially to save future detriment in the future. And also giving more voices to youth, having more youth coming to the conferences, giving more positions to youth so they can speak, so that we can, because it's the future generation, and it's going to be us who's living with the damages in the future. So giving more voices to the youth as well.
Thank you, Lucas. Skylar, what do you think?
I think that governments need to move past reiterating plans and goals and commitments, and to start thinking about how to make the plans into ground level changes. So like for example, I heard this discussion at the South African Pavilion, and they were just saying that the government implemented a system that gathered all the experts and practitioners in the regarding field, and they brought the brightest minds together to answer questions of what needed to be put on the ground to make things happen in that area. And I think that's exactly what needs to be done, and it's easy. So that's the priority for me.
Thank you, Skylar. What about you, Adam? What do you think the priority must be?
I think similar to Skylar, I think the governments need to take their actions rather than just thinking about plans. But I also believe that it's kind of hard for every country, like major country, no matter what it's developing countries or the advanced countries. I mean, the major cause of pollutions, there are factories and cars and trains and whatnot. So, but stopping these can hugely affect the lives of people currently now. So without affecting the lives of the citizens, I believe it's kind of hard for local governments to make changes that can be very impactful in like a short amount of time. I believe we can change by a little and at a time, and we can, although in a short time it might be like doing some damage to our community, but in the long run we'll definitely make benefits in the future.
Perfect, Adam. Now it's time to listen to Kayuja. What do you think that the priority must be now?
I think the priority is education. Like a lot of people don't know the importance that to protect the environment, and they don't know how badly the climate change are being. So I think the government should like put more energy into educate the people, like especially the young people, youngs, to know like the importance of to protect environment, and thinking the ways how to like some methods to solve these problems, and they have to educate them so that they have time or energy to think all the ways.
Okay, let's move to Wei Ching-Chang, who is watching us here from the audience. If you can share with us your thoughts, what must be the priorities?
So I also think the education, but I think it's pretty hard to do that for some poverty country. So I think it needs to like increase their investment to help everyone to get education first.
Okay, Juhaina, next to you.
I would agree with them when it comes to education and raising awareness, because when you raise awareness and have environmentally conscious community, that definitely saves a lot of investment to do with innovation and other things. Another thing would be focusing on nature-based solutions. I think we already have, like in nature, like you could say climate fighting nature, like the trees, tree planting, and the whales. So it's very important to invest in nature-based solutions.
Thank you so much, Juhaina. In less than 1 minute, Fatima, I know the exercise is hard, but what is your message at the end of this session?
Actually, I would like to comment because what Adam said is very important. It's because we cannot really make, like I think what you were saying is basically phasing out fossil fuel is going to impact the quality of life of people. But there is something that we can do that is going to impact our life positively, which is basically what is happening acutely right now. There is something for long term and something for short term. So short term right now, what can we do collectively is we can all advocate for peace. We can all advocate for how many hamburgers do you think each bomb equal to? Right?
Yeah.
So we say stop eating hamburgers and eat more vegetables, but it is important also to advocate for that, and it is priority. This is top priority right now because it is acute. So let's advocate for peace and to, if we can all advocate to defund weapons, bombs all over the world, all the wars. This is something that will not impact the quality of life. It will even make it greater.
Exactly. What a great message. Let's advocate for peace. If there's no questions, I'm not seeing hands raised. Let's finish this session. I would like to thank you all for being here today. I would like to thank our panelists here today for sharing their experiences and their thoughts. That was really amazing to listen